What type of natural materials are available as tinder sources or fire ignition sources during a wintertime environment? So there's a couple foolproof methods that you can always go to that will work in a snowy wintertime environment. The first one being fatwood. Fatwood's always going to be a very good resource if you can get around some dead standing pine. Of course, you can cut down into some of these lower limbs with your axe. And we have ourselves some beautiful fatwood that we can scrape up and catch on fire. Of course, a very simple pile like this will ignite very quickly, even in wet conditions. So fatwood's always going to be a great go-to tinder source during a wintertime environment. The second option is very similar to number one, as it is plentiful pretty much year-round, and that is birch. You just peel this bark off, get a good clump of it. We can ignite this with char cloth, ferrocerium rod, or an open flame. The third option is also available year-round, but it's going to be a little bit easier for you to access in the wintertime, and that is, if you can get in an area with hemlock or pine, you can come in and find this very, very thin, small material, just like that, okay? The size of toothpicks, even smaller, and create a stick bundle. This stick bundle can then be placed in your fire lay as your ignition source. The fourth option, again, year-round, but in the wintertime it works really well. We can identify this very quickly. Dead standing material like what I have behind me. Here's a downed tree, all type of material it ripped down with it, so any type of dried wood's going to be good because we can do this with it. One very simple option is just to baton into wood. We're always going to have dry wood depending any time of the year, so we can process our wood down and then of course take super fine shavings off of this. Just got to watch in wintertime with the wind so the wind doesn't pick up and blow all your shavings away that you worked oh so hard for. We have fire this way, of course, make more shavings, but it's always a viable option. And lastly, so right here we have a downed tulip poplar tree, and you can see that you can pull this dead bark off, and you can process this quite quickly by getting the outer bark off and getting that inner bark fluffed up. By pulling it apart, we start to create somewhat of a bird's nest. After very quick processing, you can see that bird's nest material fluffs up very nicely. The good thing with this is, number one, it can take an ember from a bow drill friction fire. It can also work very, very well with charred material. It also works good if you're going to use a ferrocerium rod or if you're going to use any type of open flame source. What you need to keep in mind though is that it's really, the wintertime's not going to be too much different than summer. We're just really eliminating the stuff on the ground that's dry. So it's still everything up higher. So just think waist up for wintertime. If you look around, what's up there? So we're looking at barks, we're looking at sticks, and we're looking at dry wood. And if you can identify that, you can use that stuff year round. The summer just gives us more versatility to be able to look low and find that dry stuff or areas where the wind's coming through on vegetation. Last thing I can share with you guys is don't ever underestimate what's out there. All these flower tops are available. I'm in an area right now that there's a whole bunch up. They're nowhere near where I initially started, so stuff's going to change. There's going to be a lot of variety out there. You just got to keep an open mind. But the things I've showed you are always going to be available, at least for me in my area, so you got to research what's in your area, and I bet that if you're in the Northeast, a lot of that stuff's also available for you. So this was Dan Womack with Coalcracker Bushcraft. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, stay in the woods, guys.